The strange thing is, some relationships do not fall apart in shouting matches. They fall apart while life still looks mostly normal. No dramatic ending, no slammed doors, no final speech. Just two people sharing the same space while the warmth between them slowly wears thin. From the outside, nothing seems broken, but inside the relationship, something essential has already started to disappear. And to understand how love can fade without a clear rupture, we have to look at the small everyday moments where disconnection first begins to grow. At first, it hardly looks like a problem at all. There's no obvious crisis, no betrayal, no single night you can point to and say, that was when everything changed. There are only tiny shifts. A shorter answer here, a distracted nod there, a conversation that never quite moves past the surface, a story one person almost tells, then keeps to themselves because the timing feels wrong, or the other person seems tired, or maybe it just does not feel as easy as it once did. That is how distance often enters a relationship, not like a storm, more like a draft coming through a window no one realized was left open. Two people come home after long days. One asks, "How was your day?" The other says, "Fine, busy." And that is the end of it. On paper, nothing is wrong. It is a completely ordinary exchange, the kind that happens in almost every home. But when those moments start to stack up, what disappears is not just conversation. What disappears is access, the feeling that you can still step into each other's inner world and actually be met there. Soon they are sitting side by side in the evening, both in the same room, both somewhere else, one on a phone, one drifting in a private fog of exhaustion. There's no cruelty in it, no obvious rejection, just the slow weight of daily life and that very human habit of postponing what matters most because it feels easier to deal with later. One person thinks, "I'll bring it up another time." The other thinks, maybe they don't really want to talk. Neither person means harm. And yet that mutual hesitation starts building a wall, brick by brick. This is where a lot of people get fooled. They assume that if a relationship is calm, it must be healthy. But calm and connected are not the same thing. A relationship can be free of conflict and still be emotionally starving. It can look functional, organized, even mature from the outside, while inwardly becoming thinner, flatter, less alive. They still ask whether the other person has eaten. They still remember practical things. They still move through the machinery of shared life. But something softer begins to fade. The feeling of being noticed. The feeling of being understood without having to over-explain. The feeling that your inner life still matters to the person sitting beside you. When that feeling weakens for long enough, people adapt. Human beings are incredibly good at adapting even to things that quietly wound them. They stop expecting much. They stop mentioning the small disappointments. They stop reaching for depth every time the chance appears. They tell themselves this is adulthood, that closeness naturally cools, that everyone gets busy, that maybe this is just what long-term love becomes. Part of that is true, of course. No relationship can live forever in the bright intensity of the beginning. Novelty settles, routines form, life gets heavier and less dramatic. But maturity does not have to mean emotional exile. A steady relationship is not one that never dries out. It is one that notices the dryness before it turns into a desert. The trouble is, people rarely notice the retreat while it is happening. It looks too ordinary, too reasonable, too easy to excuse. Maybe one person shares something painful and the other responds too quickly with advice, trying to fix instead of understand. Maybe someone finally admits months they have been feeling low, disappointed, lonely, and instead of being met with presence, they are met with efficiency. Not because the other person does not care, but because they do not know how to stay with discomfort. So the vulnerable person learns a small lesson. Maybe this is not the place to bring this part of me, or maybe the pattern is even quieter than that. You try once, then twice, then a third time. Nothing explosive happens. You are not mocked, you are not outright rejected, but neither do you feel truly received. So eventually, you start editing yourself before you speak. You shave off the messy parts. You keep the difficult feelings in the background. You offer the cleaned up version instead. And with that, a private layer of the self goes underground. Psychologically, this makes a strange kind of sense. When emotional reaching keeps leading to disappointment, confusion, or emptiness, people start conserving themselves. They say less so they feel less exposed. They ask for less so they do not risk being let down again. They make their needs smaller so they do not feel unreasonable for having them at all. It is not always dramatic self-protection. Most of the time it is subtle, almost invisible, but it changes the shape of the relationship just the same. The thought comes first. There is no point. This will go nowhere. I don't want to make things heavy. I can't handle another missed moment. Then the feeling follows. Caution, sadness, resignation, exhaustion. Then the behavior. Shorter replies, fewer attempts, more retreat, less curiosity. Then the consequence. Two people who may still care deeply, but no longer feel safe enough to truly meet each other. That is why emotional distance can feel so unsettling. It often does not feel like hatred. It does not even always feel like the end of love. Sometimes it feels more like the loss of a bridge. The bridge is still visible from both sides, but no one is crossing it anymore. And once it begins, each person starts telling silent stories about this other. They don't ask because they're not interested anymore. They're quiet because they've checked out. They didn't notice because I don't matter now. They didn't respond because they don't care enough. The mind is a mischievous little machine. When direct connection weakens, it fills the empty spaces with interpretation, and interpretation, in the absence of honest conversation, usually bends toward fear. So a tragic loop begins. One person pulls back because they feel unseen. The other senses the distance and pulls back too, assuming space is what the first person wants. That retreat confirms the first person's fear, and each new withdrawal becomes evidence for a story neither of them has actually spoken out loud. This is how a relationship can slowly become haunted by ghosts, old disappointments, unspoken assumptions, protective habits, and the imagined version of each person the other has started reacting to, instead of the real one in front of them. From there, even tenderness becomes harder to reach. A simple question can sound like criticism. A tired pause can feel like indifference. An attempt to reconnect can arrive carrying so much accumulated hurt that the other person hears only pressure. And because no one wants another failed moment, both people become more careful, more guarded, more distant still. A lot of people call this falling out of love, and sometimes, yes, that is exactly what it is, but not always. Sometimes it is accumulated exhaustion. Sometimes it is a long season of emotional misfires. Sometimes it is disappointment that was left unattended for too long. Sometimes it is two frightened nervous systems trying not to get hurt again and accidentally making the relationship colder in the process. That distinction matters, because if the real issue is not the absence of love, but the erosion of emotional safety, then the way back is not grand romance. It is not one perfect speech delivered under cinematic lighting while the universe politely pauses. Real repair is usually less glamorous than that, more awkward, more fragile, more human. It often begins when one person becomes brave enough to speak without attacking. Not, "You never care." Not, "You've changed." Not, "What is wrong with you?" But something closer to the truth. Lately, I feel like we've been living next to each other more than living with each other. I miss how easy it used to feel to bring you the small things. I'm not trying to blame you. I just don't want us to keep drifting without noticing. Those kinds of sentences do not sparkle. They do not win arguments, but they open a different door. They invite recognition instead of defensiveness. They place the problem between the two people instead of inside one of them. And that matters because emotional distance is rarely repaired by forcing a verdict. It softens when both people can look at the same reality and admit, yes, something has been fading here, and yes, we have both been living inside it. After that, repair is usually built through small returns, a slower answer, a fuller question, a pause long enough to really hear the feeling underneath the words, a willingness to stay in an uncomfortable conversation without rushing to fix, defend, or escape. Sometimes the first meaningful change is tiny. One person puts their phone down when the other starts talking. Someone resists the urge to offer a solution and says instead, "That sounds heavier than I realized." Someone admits, "I know I've been withdrawing. It's not because I don't care. I think I've just felt lost in how to do this well." Tiny, yes, but tiny things built the distance. Tiny things can also start undoing it. Of course, honesty also requires another truth. Not every relationship can be repaired just because one person is willing. Reconnection takes participation from both sides. If only one person keeps reaching, keeps naming, keeps tending the emotional fire, while the other remains permanently absent, the relationship becomes a one-person rescue mission. And those do not end well. They end in burnout, grief, and the slow erosion of self-respect. So gentleness has to include boundaries. Understanding has to include realism. Compassion cannot turn into self-erasure. A healthy relationship does not require two flawless people. That would be a polished little fantasy. It requires two people who are willing, at least some of the time, to turn back toward each other when turning away would be easier. And when the distance has become too deeply set, when every conversation collapses into confusion or numbness, when loneliness inside the relationship has started reshaping your sense of self, seeking support is not an overreaction. A trusted third person or a professional can sometimes help name what the couple can no longer clearly see from inside the fog. In the end, maybe the saddest thing about a fading relationship is not that someone leaves. It is that sometimes nobody leaves and something precious disappears anyway. Two people remain, the routines remain, the shared home, the shared history, the ordinary structure of life remains. But the felt experience of being reached, known, and emotionally held begins to slip away. And yet, strangely enough, that is also where hope lives. Because if distance was created through repeated small omissions, then closeness may begin again through repeated small acts of courage, not perfection, not spectacle, just courage, the courage to notice, the courage to say, something is changing between us, the courage to listen without armor, the courage to stay present long enough for truth to arrive without forcing it. Some relationships do not need a miracle. They need honesty before numbness becomes identity. They need tenderness before assumptions harden into fate. They need two people willing to look at the quiet space between them and ask, not who is winning or who is to blame, but whether something living can still be built here. And sometimes the most loving thing two people can do is not return to who they were at the beginning. It is to create slowly and deliberately a new way of being together. Less performative, less automatic, more truthful, more awake, more capable of carrying the weight of real life without losing hold of each other. Because the deepest loss in love is not always noise. Sometimes it is silence. And sometimes healing begins the moment that silence is finally understood, not as peace, but as a signal asking to be heard.